Your Craychasms and PogChamps ready for this one in the top left. There we go, thank you. In the top left here from Ting, the American Protoss in the blue. This is Neeb.
Opening with a pylon into an assimilator and then a gateway right after.
And in the bottom right, going for the 12 pool. He is the world champion. Finland and NC Sports' Serral.
We've known Serral to do this from time to time. He used it on Thunderbird in the past when he played in Challenger against T-Drogo. And, I mean, this is the thing about some of these Zergs. I talked about it before when we cast sort of. You kind of expect them to play the longer game. Drone up, take more bases. They don't throw in too many cheeses here and there. I mean, this is not even like one of those real cheese, right? It's just the initial links that are there to do some damage. And with how smart Serral is, with his prioritizing, with knowing exactly what to attack, it makes a lot of sense for him to throw in a build like this here and there. And it's going to be a lot for Neeb to try and defend this exactly as he needs to, which if he does, he could get a decent amount ahead in a game like this.
Oh, certainly if he holds. I mean, the probe is coming across the map. Serral is avoiding the probe with his Zerglings, though, taking the southern path. So Neeb's not going to know about it until the Zerglings rock up. The Lings are actually avoiding this probe completely, and it's not going to know until it sees the timing of his hatchery that something is amiss.
As Serral here, ideally, you would like to unpower that gateway and that cyber
I think he's going to get it,
If you can do that, you can just run around forever, kill probes left and right. And the fact that the map is set up the way it is in the center is why he did just that. He knew he could avoid that one probe. Going across the map, he's going to get the pylon. He needs to start running around. Neeb's get the full surround.
Oh, big surround here on those Lings there with the probes of Neeb. And of course, this is a lot of 9 mining time. He's just trying to get that pylon back up again to be able to repower this wall and get that Adept out. Serral's still putting on pressure. Keep in mind that back at home, he is expanding. He is starting to drone again, so he's not all in, but he is committed here to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Serral is preventing a lot of mining time. He could go again for that pylon to force the probes from coming back, but there's so many of them that those Lings might die really fast. Serral is so good. He goes to the back of that mineral patch here, seeing that there was only one probe away from the herd, exposed by itself.
That's right, but they do mine in herds. The probe getting back on the mineral line there. The Adept is out, which means the Ling shenanigans are over for now. Neeb being very, very careful. Doesn't need to get that. Oh, we got one Ling heading to the main base just to see if Neeb's trying to sneak any tech on him. Very, very tough for Neeb to do that right now. You can see that he's actually just trying to afford, the next step here in his tier 2 sort of repertoire for the Protoss. Like, is he going to go for a, Stargate Robo? It is going to be a Stargate here from Neeb put into the main base, and that's what Serral was looking for. Didn't get to scout it, but he did see the gases here of Neeb.
Very good defense from Neeb, I gotta say. Like, he only lost a single probe. He killed 4 Lings. He did lose the pylon for a little bit, but the defense is there. And all alike, very, very smart choices by Serral. The time that he pulled back, not overcommitting against the probes, like definitely one of the biggest mistake you could do against this. If you got fully surrounded, if you stayed there too long and lost all of your Lings, he would be infinitely behind. He didn't let that happen, saved a whole bunch of his Lings, and now he's adding on a few more to that count that he got. He's going to go up to 12 in a second with Metabolic Boost on the way. Adept's actually going to shade forward here. A little bit ambitious.
He really, really wants these drones here. He's talking to Serral a little bit. He said that Neeb's a very risky player, especially in this matchup. The Adepts are going to get stuck. Looks like they are going to just shade out of harm's way just in time, but one of them picked off by the Queen here.
Yeah, and Speed's not quite ready just yet. The Overlord across the map is going to spot the Stargate perfectly, sees that it's a Phoenix first. Great bit of information here gathered by Serral, and he can even maybe see the second unit that's going to start out of this, which is going to be an Oracle. Starts to fly away with the one Overlord. I mean, the one around the natural, but Neeb should have been able to see this, and that should be next on his list of things to kill with the one Phoenix. And behind this, we've got Serral obviously droning up as much as he can, but he's forced into making more Overlords right now.
He's getting his 3rd hatchery. Had to do a little bit of a dance there with the Adept, which he caught in the middle of the map, by the way. So that's very, very nice for Serral. Speed is done for these Lings, so he has a bit more map control on the Protoss for now. Can't crack this natural, so Neeb is safe for that regard, but he is still owning the map. The Protoss is going to have to take a little bit before he gets that 3rd base. The Oracle definitely wants to use its laser beams on the other side of the map here, not to clean up those Lings or anything like that. So it wants to look for drone kills, any kind of harassment he can find, and also scouting with that Oracle as well.
Yeah, one thing that's going to be really nice for Serral this game is the way Crit Spread is already going very nicely. Like, he's got so many Crypt Tumors spread out. He's definitely one of those guys who, in this day and age, if you let him, I guess, stay on his side of the map and do whatever he wants with that Crit Spread, it's going to reach the center very, very quickly. Manages pretty well to defend against the Stasis Ward here.
Yeah, very decent awareness from Serral. And actually, earlier we saw him look at that Stargate. He wanted to see if it was still being used and saw that the Stargate was not making any more oracles. So probably a read there from Serral to know that there isn't a commitment to Stargate tech, that he is in fact switching over into Robotics Facility and also Resonating Glaives. Robot facilities and Resonating Glaives can sometimes lead to something pretty horrifying in the near future here for Protoss against Zerg.
Yeah, having spotted the Twilight Council is huge here because Serral knows that the only thing that could be really scary before he gets to Hydralisk is Adepts, stuff like Adepts, or maybe, sometimes Charge Loss. So he grabs the Baneling Nest early, and if he sees any kind of move out, and you can count on him putting the extra effort to see what would be coming, he's just going to morph a bunch of Banelings and find himself safe a lot of the time on his side of the map.
And Serral is going to go for Ling Bane Hydralisk here. It's actually a very strong unicomp against what Neeb's doing. It's pretty good unicomp against most things Protoss can do at the early stages of the game. And if he's allowed to get those unit counts up, then he can certainly fight the Adepts. But look how many Adepts there are here for Neeb. That is a scary force for the light army of Serral. And he has Resonating Glaives finishing up in about 10 seconds here. Serral sees it with that Zergling. He's morphing Banelings defensively here. 16 more Lings on the way.
And the Cruise Spray is going to help so much here in spotting this, in having some additional extra speed here to defend. If Neeb goes for the first shade in, he might lose everything very quickly here. As more Lings are about to come out as well.
He can't let that shade finish. Surely not. There we go. Yeah, he sees the Banelings there. He would have lost a lot of Adepts. Neeb being very careful, playing footsies with the army of Serral here. Shading forward, trying to force a reaction from Serral. The Queen's getting engaged directly. He can always cancel the shade and just engage these Queens, which he's going to do right now. Resonating Glaives Adepts in this number is actually so frightening here. Serral comes back to engage the Adepts, surrounding with those Lings. The Banelings hitting the cluster on the left, actually getting quite a few Adept kills.
You're not shading anywhere.
Where you going, mates? Well, that one Adept does get a couple drone kills in, but Serral with a very nice cleanup, all things considered. Even losing a couple Queens, that's quite good for the Zerg.
Yeah, they both did that so well as well. Like, Neeb didn't overextend in the first place, but eventually there was a little bit of a timing in there where Serral could connect with the Banelings. He went for it, gets the nice cleanup, killed 12 Adepts, only lost 4 drones so far this game. Against what was an Oracle in the first place, and then a ton of Adepts with Glaives. So Serral's defense been there. Now he's going to build up that walker count more, because so far Neeb has been building up his very, very nicely. He forced so many units out of Serral, that's the thing. Even though he didn't do direct damage by killing drones, he forced a ton of units out, so he finds himself a little bit ahead on the walker count here, which Serral does need to catch up on.
Great scouting here from Serral, and Neeb also doing a great job with that Oracle from the early game. Still alive and still getting drone kills and still keeping an eye on the Zerg's tech as well. Both players keeping each other honest and seeing what's up here. The Infestation Pit on the way for Serral, Tier 3 being unlocked shortly enough. Overlord speed finishing up, Baneling speed finishing up. And the upgrades of both players just starting to kick in. We see Drop-A-Lord tech here from Serral, so he's going to try and, I guess, drop some Banelings on mineral lines here. We're going to get across the map for an attack as Neeb keeps those Oracles still being a pain in the backside here for Serral. Just darts out there. That Oracle with 5 kills so far. Not as many as it feels like.
Yeah, and Neeb's doing everything right behind this as well. Adding on charge, some more High Templars with Storm. Might be seeing an additional Robo, I think, would be helpful to get to more Immortals there eventually, but still morphing Banelings forward here. Maybe looking to try and crush into that 4th base and getting it cancelled, which, I mean, he might not even need.
Well, he saw the Templar Archives earlier, and he knows that Storm's not ready yet, so he's trying to capitalize on that with some speed Banelings. Looking for those High Templar if he can really get them, but doesn't want to overcommit if he doesn't know he can get it 100%. It would be a very, very risky maneuver. He's coming around with the Banelings from the south. Neeb obviously does see it. Storm is finished just in time here for the American Protoss, and he does get a great Storm there on those Banelings.
And that one Phoenix on patrol here at the top might be able to intercept that one Overlord, which is very important. We saw yesterday in A-Laser's game how some of these Baneling drops can change the game massively. You really need to watch out for those.
There's a really good Storm again there from Neeb, killing a few Banelings. Morphing in some Stalkers defensively. Serral not going to get a whole lot done here by the looks of things. Oh, as I say that, oh man, all right, that's a lot more than I thought. Still not done with a couple more Banes, getting 10 probes. That's super worth it. Neeb seemed like he was really ready, but didn't pull the probes, got punished for it by Serral.
Yeah, maybe needed to warp in a little bit on your Banelings.
All right, one goes down. He does get a couple Storms off, but these are Storms that aren't going to be here for the Hydralisks.
He gets the Nexus.
He does kill the Nexus, and he's also continuing to pressure here. Storms on top of his army, but not on the Hydras again. So Serral keeps the Hydra count alive. He's replenishing it as well. Going in Aspire now as well, which Neeb might not be expecting here, as he's completely focused on his defense.
And we might get to the late game Zerg composition here in a moment where it gets really scary. Once there's stuff like Broodlords synergizing with supposed static defense that actually moves around, aka Spores, maybe some Spines, Infestors, all that. So we'll see exactly what Serral chooses to go into. Like the Broodlords are the must grab, but he's getting Adrenal Glands as well. Whereas Neeb is kind of stuck on his side of the map for the most part, defending up until now. He it doesn't feel like he really has the economy just yet to go into Stargate tech and all that stuff.
It's not every day you see Adrenal being researched along with +1 melee for those Zerglings.
Yeah.
These upgrades are a little bit late for Serral, but considering the early game, that makes a bit of sense here. Because the upgrades being late does mean his army isn't as scary as we're used to seeing it at this point of the game. Attempted run by here from Serral. There is a stasis wall. Oh, okay. Caught the break off the Ling there, so good read from Serral. Doesn't get his army caught.
Some really nice overlord placement, by the way, around the map from Serral to see these attacks coming. He's going to re-engage here into the center. Serral is relentless. He keeps on doing this. He goes home, he macros, he techs, and then he's like, well, you know what? I've got units. I want to trade units. So I'm just going to engage into your trade against those more expensive units, the Immortal and the High Templars if I can. The big risk and danger in doing that is that if you lose a huge chunk of units and then you get countered, you're going to be, I guess, on the verge of maybe losing the game.
Well, I mean,
you don't get enough.
Serral's making Corruptors right now, and that is not going to help him against this army of Neeb if Neeb decides to go across the map. Banelings, Lings, and Hydras are certainly the fighting force for the ground for Serral, but until those Corruptors are Broodlords, they're really not helpful yet.
You know what? If Neeb actually had a Prism, he might have wanted to attack here, but he didn't. So he has no reinforcing potential here into the fight. So he can only just stay on his side of the map and really not do that much right now, which means that Serral is going to reach Broodlords safely, which is a very scary thought because there is no sign of any transition into Tempest. And without Tempest, let me tell you, like if you got Banelings and Hydralisk on the ground covering for those Broodlords on the in the air,
good luck.
Raining down Banelings on top of everything.
I actually don't even know does Neeb even have Blink right now? Like, how is he doesn't have Blink, so he really doesn't have an answer at all for Broodlords.
Yeah. He already has the Stargate, but he might not even have an idea. Just because of the way Serral has been throwing away units and trading, like obviously, usually the timing you will go for Stargates, or like, I mean, more Stargates, Fleet Beacon and all that mothership, is when you're well set up on 5 bases. But Serral never let that happen. Or he delayed it as much as he could. Only now is the 5th base starting for Neeb. So if you look at his economy, like he's not even that close to maxing out just yet. He feels like he needs more units because Serral's going to attack him again soon. So Serral has done such a fantastic job trading the entire game that he's forced Neeb in this position where it feels like he cannot tech further. And now Serral having out-tech Neeb, I feel he's going to push across the map with Spine Crawlers, maybe some Spore, and just a force that Neeb shouldn't be able to handle eventually.
I think Serral's just going to wait for Neeb to come to him and then surprise him with the Broodlords. Neeb is only just now getting those Stargates and that Fleet Beacon, and Serral saw with his Overseer earlier that there is no Fleet Beacon just yet, so he knows the Broodlords are going to be very, very powerful. High Templar comes forward here, but it's going to get killed by the Broodlings not storming anything of Serral, and Neeb needs to get out of here. Those Broodlords are a huge problem.
And Neeb actually tried to go for a run by here on the top right-hand side, but there was 5 Spine Crawlers waiting for these Zealots to come in, so he defended that easily. Finds Hydralisk across the map to crash into that Nexus.
Yeah, Banelings crashing into the Nexus, not everything you want to see there for a Zerg. Storms from Neeb not really connecting with the Zerg army there, getting a few units on the fringe. The Storm energy is really important because it's actually one of the very few things he has to actually damage these Broodlords. Until he gets those Tempests out, like you mentioned, Todd, he needs those Tempests so badly.
Oh, Neeb's going to try to go around. He's like, there is no way I can find these Broodlords here. There is no way I can fight them and survive. He's going to evacuate. I like this choice. I feel like if he just fought against the Broodlords, he would do super hard. So he's trying to counterattack with everything. And Serral's not really ready on his side of the map. He's just going to fly back. Serral knows that he needs these Broodlords for the defense.
He has to, but they're so slow. They're slowly floating home, and yes, they will beat this army of Neeb. But Neeb split up his army here. He's on the north and the south of the map, and both these halves of the army are hard to deal with. The Banelings crashing forward. They hit the Immortals. They hit the High Templar as well. These Hydralisks might be enough to clean us up on the south, but what about the north? Neeb is crashing through the static defense of Serral, getting on top of this hatchery. Serral's evacuated the drones. The Broodlords arrive, and they're going to push Neeb back just in time.
Yeah, I mean, where is Neeb going here? He's supposed to run to the top right-hand side. Might even need to recall here if he gets cornered completely. Serral, he suffered some damage on his side of the map, but it was really minimal in comparison to all the one that he dealt, killing the Nexus, Lings still working on the buildings that were left over in that location. Tempest now finally being produced. He's getting Blink as well, but most of his ground army is gone, especially in the High Templars. Like, he lost so many of them. He's actually going to recall. Neeb just recalls there.
Recalls to the 3rd Nexus there. Oh, unfortunately, the 4th and the 5th Nexus are a little vulnerable down here to the south. And without High Templar, the Lingbane Hydra army actually gets a lot more frightening again. These charge lots have been warped in, but they actually can't stand a fight here. There's more High Templar coming in finally. Obviously, they all have Storms, each and every one of them. And Neeb can't afford to lose any of these big Tier 3 tech units. The High Templar and the Tempest, very, very important.
And Neeb has 2 Archons that are trapped in his natural because they're too chubby to make it through that wall. Yeah, thick. He needs to get a War Prism here, I guess, to pick those up.
Yeah, or kill maybe the pylons on the front line, but then you open yourself up to run-bys, so it's a little bit risky. More Corruptors and Infestors on the way for Serral. The Infestors are a nice addition in here. Better help him out with the air army of the Protoss.
You know what Neeb did that might help him a lot here is killing those spine crawlers on the top right-hand side base of Serral that were there. There was 5 of them, he went with his whole army, killed them. So if he now sends the Zealots in that location, that could be dangerous for Serral. And he needs to be active across the map for sure. I feel like if he just stays on his side of the map, eventually Serral's going to go for another push. And I mean, there is 11 Broodlords against 2 Stalkers and 5 Tempests right now.
And there's also 3 Queens that think that they're a lot stronger than they are. They need to get back on a creep here.
Overly ambitious.
Yeah, overly ambitious. Ooh, an attack into the natural for Serral. He actually gets a Ling run
but
by.
the Archons
are here.
waiting.
2,000 IQ Archons for Neeb. And he just runs past them and into the main base. Oh, these Banelings! Finding a cluster of a dozen drones down here on the third. And Serral is in the main as well, carving through those Zealots. And the probes are next on the menu.
Yeah, Serral's sitting pretty. Now he's adding on a ton of Infestors. He's getting Neural Parasite as well. Adding on every single upgrade that he wants to right now. Burrow, we've got +3 melee, +3 missile. And he's even going to remake those Spine Crawlers that he had made earlier, which is so smart because we're always going to see Zealot run-bys there. And initially he had defended one of those big ones earlier on in the game. They're both so active. Like, Serral never sits back. He's always active on the map with units, getting trades.
It's a brilliant game. Really good stuff. I mean, Neeb has the worst economy now because of the damage that Serral's been doing. And Serral has also got these Infestors and Broodlords together. He's coming forward with the Infestors, gets some Fungals off. He's looking for those High Templar. If he can get them with the Infestors, that'd be really, really good. But feedback's going down the Infestors as well. The Broodlord's starting to engage that ground army. Feedbacks and storms all over the Infestors here of Serral. And actually, Neeb's starting to push back on these Broodlords. The Hydras from the high ground, trying to help out Serral in his defense. Neeb actually still barreling through.
Yeah, that was a little bit ambitious here from Serral. He lost a lot, especially with his Infestors. He used so much energy. Some of those are bruised right now. He's going to get chased back. Neeb is losing a lot of his shields, but those are going to regenerate. He's on the chase right now.
He certainly is. Serral trying to get those Fungals on those High Templar, slow down those Archons. The Archons are slowly pushing through, but a couple of them on the front line are going down. Big storms from Neeb, getting on top of these Hydras of Serral, on top of the Infestors as well. Another Fungal from Serral. He does still have Serral available. The army of Neeb is starting to dwindle. The Tempests are dead. Can Serral hold with the Infested Terrans? It looks like it is going to be enough. Neeb getting pushed way back. Serral taking a big supply lead. Neeb getting deflected. A charge lock warp in means that he can continue to pressure this location. Serral's reinforcements, though, looking like they might be enough. The Broodlords, not really a problem for Serral anymore as the Stalkers are getting deleted. Serral holds and gets game number 1. What a game 1 from Neeb and Serral. I'm excited for this series, Todd.
That was incredible. I feel like we're witnessing Morpheus against Neo, Sengoku against Vegeta here. This matchup so far delivered and more, and we're just only 1 map in. Both players playing incredible, being active everywhere. They didn't miss a bit. They were fighting the whole time. Serral in particular across the map, which, I mean, for like usually it'd be the Protoss, right, harassing, and he was in the start of the game. He was the one that made the Oracle, the Phoenix, then the Adepts. But then it was really Serral that ran the show. Again, he put in so much work the entire game, kept Neeb on lower bases than he would have been usually, on lower tech than he would have been usually, and that's why the Broodlords were so successful. As soon as he got that, pushed across the map, didn't miss any time. He knew that Neeb was going to be too far behind on the tech towards Tempest, that he wasn't going to have any anti-Broodlord. And Neeb reacted properly. That's the crazy thing. It's not like he tried to take a really bad fight. He went across the map, counter-attacked, but then those Banelings crashing inside of the High Templars, that was the big game changer in my opinion. Like maybe the split of Neeb as well could have been a little better with High Templars in both of his armies that he had across the map, but as soon as Banelings start connecting inside of high energy High Templars clumped up together, usually it's going pretty bad for Protoss.
Well, let's see what's in the bag here for this PvZ for game number 2. It's going to be on Cyber Forest, shortest map distance in the map pool. And what are the strats going to be for both these players? Serral opening things a little bit spicy in game 1 with a 12 pull. Bit of a ZVZ build showing itself in PvZ. And this guy in the top left, a great game 1 from him, but he is looking to tie up the score still. From America, from Ting, the Protoss in the blue, this is Neeb. And the bottom right here, 5-time WCS champion, 2-time Home Story Cup champion, GSL versus the world champion, and world champion. This is ENCE Esports' Serral.
Multiple world champion, yeah, that would suffice.
He's won a lot of championships, okay?
And Neeb actually going for the very quick scouts to make sure he could block that hatchery here.
Yeah. And Zergs, to avoid this song and dance, just take their second base down where the third normally would be.
Yeah. They're like, you know what? I don't even mind, but they do mind.
Yeah. They say they don't mind, but it's like that meme where they're crying underneath the mask.
It's like when somebody tells you they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, boy, that's my favorite. No, I'm fine. Yeah, that's great.
All right, we'll see how Neeb follows this up here. He quickly realized that Serral had gone for the archery on the other location here, a little bit further away. And he's going to be in the Nexus before the Cybercore. And I mean, Neeb, honestly, like, he was doing a lot of things well. Maybe that first big Adept attack, he should have pulled back out of it, because he had already forced a ton of links and banelings. And I think, like, I don't know, maybe it's just that Serral reacted so well to it and I re-engaged into the Adepts before they could shade forward. But I feel like if he had preserved that Adept count, instead of going, staying out on the map and having that cleaned up, that would have been better. I mean, he was ahead in probes behind this, which is very impressive. But from there, Serral just, it feels like no matter how ahead you can get against Serral, as long as he's still alive and on 3 bases, you're always going to be in danger, because he's going to build up that drone count so well. And after that, he's just so smart in the amount of units that he makes and how aggressive he is with them.
Serral's decision-making is just so good, man. It just feels like he makes correct decisions based on what he sees, and he makes that decision within milliseconds. He's just the fastest thinker and one of the fastest players in the game, and that's why he is our reigning world champion. Neeb's probe still being annoying here in the natural. It's about 2.5 minutes, so Serral does want to get that third.
Yeah, and he's going to end it down now as Neeb will head on home. With the one probe, we'll find out in a second exactly what... Okay, there it is. Twilight Council here from Neeb.
So maybe a Archon drop opening.
Yeah, no Stargate on the menu here this time around, at least not early on. And I mean, he forced the hatchery to be placed away from the natural here, so if he wants to really be aggressive again with something like Glaives, there is a chance it could maybe be a little bit better, because you can go towards the natural and then threaten the shade towards both the main and the third base, which would be harder for Zerg to handle, especially if he were to skip roaches again. But we saw how well Serral adapted as well when he got just the banelings. Obviously, the previous game was, every timing was off because of the opener as well, where he rushed with the links.
When Neeb 2-0'd Serral in WSG, one of his builds in one of his games was actually a really fast DT drop, but he does drop that Dark Shrine as I finished saying that sentence, where he got the DTs in very, very early. It's just 3 DTs instead of 4.
Oh, the Adepts, the Adepts.
Okay, one Adept gets surrounded. That's a great catch from Serral. He's going to get it too. Very nicely done.
Yeah, he's going to get both.
Oh, we're going to get both, yeah. That's a great catch. Oh, recall. Nope. Wizard, please, buff.
You're not going
anywhere. We need a better recall, guys. All right.
Don't make these jokes. People are actually going to get real offended.
Okay. There are people out there that don't realize I'm joking. That's true. That's definitely my fault, Todd. And definitely those people don't need to lighten up. So the Lings of Serral just looking around here, trying to dot his I's, cross his T's. And it is going to be the DT version of the Archon drop for Neeb. A little bit of indecisiveness with a static defense. Thought maybe, that's a lot of Lings. Better be careful here.
Yeah.
The Lings didn't show up after all.
I like that. Like, you never know what might be behind this. This time it's going to be with the Ro8 from Serral. So it's going to be done in just a second. And usually, if you know that there is a Dark Shrine and that this kind of aggression is coming, which Serral does know about it, you're going to want to get 8 to 10 roaches. I think that's the right amount to make sure that when these Archons land, or DTs, I mean, usually Archons are more scary at this stage, you can take them out very quickly and you minimize your losses, especially on the drone counts in particular.
Another Adept. Don't mind if I do. Does go down on that probe, looking to take a third base, getting denied as well. Here comes that DT warp in. Overseer already here for Serral. He has that lair, and the Roaches are here as well. Just trying to pull those Queens back for safety. Neeb is lifting up those DTs and really wants to pick up those Queens, and that'd be a great catch here. Makes the Prism a lot more powerful. Oh, he's going to save it. It's fine. He's looking to get those Archons up, but the problem is here, Serral has the Roach count, really, and he can replenish that Queen count. Oh my god, Aspire immediately from Serral here.
And this was so smart by Serral to make the amount of links that he did and to stay across the map with them. He scouted the Dark Shrine, so he knew that all of the warpins that Neeb wanted to go for were just for those 4 DTs, so then he wouldn't have enough on the ground. He made the Adepts an extinct species by killing the one that was going to cover the third base, and he delayed the third Nexus greatly. So he's already kind of doing the same thing that we saw him do in the first game, not to the same extent just yet, but he's doing it so well by slowing down that expansion.
The Roach count looks low, but it is high enough to deal with those Archons punch for punch, so they can push them back. And this Spire from Serral, unscouted by Neeb, because he only sees what he sees with his Prism so far, could actually be very, very deadly, as Neeb is just gearing up for Immortals and Charge Lots. Everything that you would normally have at this point in the game for Protoss is ground-based and does not really shoot up, except for these Archons, of course. So this is potentially a very, very tricky tech switch that could just potentially just end the game.
It's so nicely placed too. Like in the natural, the last place you would want to fly into, because there is creep everywhere. Serral would have vision, he would have Queens placed there very, very quickly to push down War Prism. Okay, Neeb actually used the hallucination on his side of the map. Really cool to spot the Overlord that was on the high ground around the natural.
Yeah, and he's
kill it.
He's hopefully going to see the Spire shortly here as well. 5 mutas start here for Serral. It might just be the small amount of mutas to be able to deal with the War Prism and then switching into something else. But considering how early that Spire is, leads me to believe that he might commit to it a bit more. There's that Spire scouted by Neeb.
The good thing for Neeb is he already has a Forge. So if he just go for a single cannon and a shield battery per mineral line, it's going to be very well covered against those mutas.
And it looks like he's doing exactly that. The mutas pop out, and they are here to kill that War Prism. Serral is not looking to commit to these mutas just yet, though. He is still droning up, getting melee upgrades as well. So he's sort of leaning up towards the Hydra build again, I think. Just out of the Spire, which would be, you know, a little bit expensive just to get the Spire for the War Prism, but it does certainly shut it down, and these mutas are still useful in the game to potentially pick off High Templar and stuff like that. Prism getting targeted down, and Serral doesn't quite get it.
Wow, 1 hit point.
Damn.
And behind this, in typical Serral fashion, he drops down the Baneling Nest and the Infestation Pit, both. So he can keep his options open. You know, he could go for a lot of roaches. Make sure, like having the Baneling Nest doesn't mean you have to go for Banelings, but if you're being attacked and you know that you're in imminent danger, you morph a bunch of them, it's going to make you extra safe against most of these attacks that are going to come early on before there is like a ton of Archons.
Yeah, certainly. Blink being researched here by Neeb, respecting the Mutalisk still. And
he starts Hive.
Yep. Pretty fast Hive here from Serral.
That's a confident young man there. He's like, well, you know what? I feel like even if you attack me now, I'm going to be fine, so I'll just start Hive. And if you attack me, I'll just make enough units to hold on. He's getting a ton of drones right now, Serral. 5 more on the way. He's already up to 72.
Well, he already has a Spire, so he can get Broodlords pretty quickly here. And also, I mean, Serral, funnily enough, got Adrenal really early in Game 1 as well. I wonder if that's another thing he wants to do with the Hive here. Still making a lot of links.
He's so good with his links. Like, he always is looking for run-bys across the map. Even like last game, after he left with the Broodlords, when he had sniped at Nexus, he sent a bunch of links to clear out the rest. The shield batteries, the pylons, even the assimilators. A lot of small details like this that he's just really good at.
That's one of the wonderful things about this game. There's so many details. Very hard to catch them all. Mutas getting into the main base here. There is a cannon. No shield battery, though, so they can still gun through these probes. Gets 4, and darts on out there with the Mutalisks. Loses 1.
Yeah, Blink is about to finish, but he's not done yet. Which so going to be sad about, because he could definitely have caught some here.
Yeah, these mutas aren't really something that Serral wants to continue having in this game, so he's just keeping them alive and basically making them a harassment threat for Neeb more than anything. Spire is becoming greater here in the natural.
So early.
Yeah,
9th minute.
So fast.
So much has happened. 9th minute.
And Neeb didn't drop a Stargate when he saw the mutas of Serral either. So, I mean, he does at least have Blink in this game, so that's nice.
I think Neeb's plan here should be to get as close as he can to maxing out and then maybe attack before there are Broodlords, ideally.
Does Neeb have any splash damage in his army? Because Serral might actually just roll through with Banelings.
He's got quite a few Archons. He's got a lot of
Archons are pretty nice. And actually the Stalkers die really, funnily enough, they're not that, the Banelings are pretty crap against Stalkers as well.
I mean, if I look at Serral's army, it feels like he's just massing lair tech and looking to go all in. But then I look at the production time and I'm like, he's got a great Aspire about to finish. He's doing it all at the same time.
So certainly a little bit different here. Neeb looking forward again, just doing a bit of damage on those mutas. And Serral is just making so many Banelings.
17 more on the way here. He's going to be up
48 Banes.
50 almost soon, yeah.
Oh, damn.
And +2 melee is on the way now. Corruptor's now going to start. I think he's just trying to be threatening in the center. He's like puffing his chest out, trying to say, well, you stay on your side of the map, because otherwise I'm going to engage into you and crush you. As to make Neeb scared. What is going into Broodlords to do the same timing that we saw last game?
Serral's holding this part of the map. The Lings avoided the Protoss army, but they darted on through, and they're looking for that 4th base on the front.
Yeah, Neeb's reading into this very well. He knows he needs to go for a timing. He somehow knows that there might be Broodlords soon, even though he hasn't scouted the Great Aspire. So he's moving forward. He's got a ton of Archons. There was no transition into any kind of storm this game. He's like, you know what? I need to fight now. You're going to be on lair tech units. Even though Broodlords are in the production tab. Can he go up this ramp against that many Ravagers and Banelings?
That's a lot of Banelings here, Todd, and Serral's being careful with them as well. Connects with a few units there. And we got a Baneling run by at the third base, getting 15 probes as well. Great run bys there for Serral. In fact, 2 still surviving. But the big idea here is from Neeb. Can he actually end the game here with this push? He denies plus to attack on that Evo Chamber, so that does help out a bit. But the Broodlords are done, Todd, and they're here. Serral has bought time. Can Neeb get these Broods? Or will Serral barrel through with his Baneling count? He's actually being a little bit indecisive with these Banelings. Pulling them forward, pulling them back. Biles connecting with the Protoss' army. There's the blink from Neeb to get the Broodlords. The Banelings defend. But it looks like Neeb still has a pretty big army here, Todd.
He already did so much damage, but he's choosing to commit. Banelings looking to try and connect against the Stalkers, but they're kind of running in circles around them.
GG.
And Neeb, with the perfect timing and the perfect reaction after game number 1, realizes that this was the one timing you're supposed to do against what Serral's doing, and it works perfectly.
What a game from Neeb there. Great reads from both players. Really cool builds from Serral there, and Neeb actually reacting very well to Serral. He's never overreacted in any part of that game. He read him so well, and that counterattack was just brilliant.
Neeb didn't even scout that Great Aspire, but somehow, you know, we see everything. We can look at the supply. We can see everything that's being made in every timing, but he was like, you know what? I can feel it. I can feel like you're going for Broodlords. It's going to be really scary if I wait more. Gets as close to maxing out as he can before finally going across the map with a ton of Archons, more Archons than Serral could handle. And guess what? Serral was getting ready for this attack the entire game as well by getting a ton of Ravagers and Banelings, but it still works thanks to the Archon count and a lot of Stalkers and already having Blink as well.
Archons and Stalkers can take about 5,000 Banelings to the face, and Serral only had 50. So it's good. And you can see where Serral's mind was at. He's like, I'm going to get a lot of Banelings here because Neeb doesn't have Storm. So that was the idea there. And normally you would see that work, but the Archons and the Stalkers, as we finished mentioning, just a lot stronger than you would think against the Banelings.
If Serral had been able to anticipate this attack, maybe just don't go for Broodlords. Get more ground units. Get more Roaches in particular. More Roaches, more Banelings, and then just hold on the ground, and then you've won because it's such a huge commitment. That was the entire army of Neeb there.
Speaking of the man in question, the top left here, getting map number 2 and tying up the series for America. This is Ting's Neeb. In the bottom right, looking to take the map advantage. The Finnish Phenom, the world champion in the red. This is NC Sports' Serral.
So Neeb mined a cheeky mineral here in the middle of the map. And then gets on the other side of the map. Yeah, just on time. Perfect, yet again, to block that hatchery. And he's going to force Serral away. That was such a great timing last game. Oh my god. Like, it was just read perfectly. You know, if you were playing against a Zerg that was just massing on lair tech, like, it would have been one of the worst things you can do is get this army and look to fight. But unless you stay on your side of the map and play very defensively. And it's not like Serral overextended or anything. No, it was just trying to be offensive a little bit here and there, not nearly as much as in the first map. I mean, so brilliant. Like, honestly, I'm so impressed.
You're absolutely right. Like, if Serral wasn't taking a tier 3 and trying to get those Broodlords, if he was maxed or close to max with Roach Ravager, Baneling, then it's a much different story.
Yeah, you need to stay at home, tech more, be the one that upgrades more. But in this case, he had a fantastic timing, which, I mean, if you're Serral, definitely you can have a couple regrets about this game because he was going, I think, pretty decent up to this point. It's just, I feel like he got caught off guard by this. He probably expected Neeb, you know, to go on autopilot, so to speak, stay on his side of the map, tech more, go for Tempest, and then that would have meant Serral would have been able to hit the timings that he wanted to hit with the Broodlords.
That probe still being annoying here for the Zerg. Shoos it out of his house, though. So Serral once again having to take the uncomfortable third location for his first hatchery outside of his main. And Neeb has shown him cannons before in their previous series, but not in this one. It's just a gateway expand from Neeb going from straight in a Stalker, actually, to try and get rid of this Overlord.
Yeah, he's chrono boosting that. Serral realized a little late here. So he's going to try to fly away for now.
He should be, I mean, this Overlord should be fine.
Yeah, Neeb's going for Stargate.
He's got that high ground.
I like Stargate on this map. You know, there is a good amount of dead space around the bases that you can use to kind of come in and drop down some Stasis Ward if you have Oracles, which usually, I mean, you're always going to have Oracles here. So that's more links than usual, by the way.
It is. Serral going for Overlord speed here.
Ooh. He wants to make sure he can scout. Like, this is one of those maps where it's harder to scout. Like, the main base is like really big in space. If the opponent puts his tech building at the back of his base,
he's got an Overlord speed before Link speed.
Yeah.
Damn. Don't see that every day.
He wants that information.
Damn straight. And I guess I see where he's headed at, because on this map, the Protoss generally will wall in that ramp, so the Lings aren't going to be too effective to give you scouting information, apart from just patrolling like Serral's doing right now. Neeb sending in one Adept. He sees that there's defenses not really here at the third base, so he's going to start attacking those probes. The probes drill and try and defend here. Workers arrest, citizens arrest here on that Adept. Adept takes so long to die to a Queen. Neeb getting a couple drones and then leaving there with the Adept still alive. And without speed, it's hard for Serral to punish and kill this Adept.
Lings are going to go look for it. Now, the Overlord spots that there is a Phoenix that's being followed up by an Oracle. He's going to fly on the other one home. And Spores are going to be up on time. But yeah, like I said, especially I think in the natural, if you send the Oracle from behind to use a Stasis Ward, it's going to be tricky for Zerg to react appropriately. I mean, out of Serral, I expect still for him to be able to do okay against this, but one single really bad Stasis Ward could put him behind.
It's going to be a bit of a wonky start here for Serral. The Lings still being slow. Going to be hard for him to defend against the Adepts, which are still coming into his natural and doing more drone damage. Another one going down. He's heading towards the main base. He tried to make it a Spore, but it wasn't fast enough. And the Speed Overlord actually hasn't given him anything, actually. All he's seen is these couple of Adepts. He's seen the Phoenix, obviously, so he knows there's a Stargate opening, but he doesn't know what Neeb's follow-up is. More drone damage from these Adepts by Neeb. Great Adept usage here for the American Protoss.
He's going to be able to get one more.
He got to get two more, mate. Target fire. There we go.
And now the Oracle flies into the natural. There's no Spore, but there's just the one Queen for now, which Neeb is like, all right, I'll take it.
Yep.
Serral's supply blocked for a little bit. Neeb with the full momentum here. He's dealing damage left and right. He's already killed 8 drones this game and 2 Overlords, and only lost 2 Adepts.
Yeah, this is a great game for Neeb so far. A wonky game for Serral. Ling's coming across the map again, but of course, as mentioned before, Neeb has that wall of protecting the 3 bases. And Serral can't really break through, especially with those force fields available for Neeb on those sentries. Straight into +1 in Immortal production here for Neeb. Serral getting his gases in the natural, heading towards Lair, and still getting +1 melee for those Lings. So it's still going to go for a melee-focused opening for now.
Yeah, I mean, Serral, it feels like his go-to style against Protoss is to go for a Ling-Bane Hydra first and foremost, and then go into that hive tech with Rulors and all things like that. But Overlord getting chased towards the base of Serral. That's going to be saved by the Queens. Don't touch my baby.
Don't touch my babies. Get out of here. Ooh, Neeb making a lot of gateways to get around out of that production. Charge lots next on the menu here for the Protoss. And so as that Lair finishes with +1 melee, it looks like the Hydra Den is going to be next for Serral. I'm with you there, Todd. So safe, those 3 bases for Protoss in this map. Similar for Zerg usually, but that only game Adept and sort of pro blocking slowed him down to some. And there's that Hydra Den for Serral.
Yeah, Neeb actually used the revelation here on the 3rd base.
Get revealed, nerd.
What are you going to do about it?
Nothing.
You'll do nothing.
Exactly. You just take it.
He saw the Evo around as well, that 3rd base, so he knows that there's going to be some upgrades from Serral. You know, it's not like Serral's going something crazy like all-out aggression. Bailing Nest on the way, Hydralisk Den, still very standard. Neeb has done such a good job with the harassment that I kind of like where is that economically, even though he's a little bit behind. On the worker count, it's 60 to 66 right now. And this time around, does he make an adjustment with maybe taking a little bit more than the previous game? Like this move outs, it's scary, but by the time he gets across the map, usually Neeb will have enough to defend, especially with the Hydralisks.
I don't think Neeb needs to worry about defense here. He's actually going to go for the full-out attack. He's going to make Serral be the defender here. Serral needs to get his units up, have plenty of creeps to fall back onto, buy time. See Neeb's broken through these rocks here. Serral sees it with his Overlord, though. He's got it parked over the rocks. Keeping on top of scouting for Neeb, seeing exactly what the production's like. Serral's 4th hatchery needing to be cancelled here. Serral pulling back onto that high ground. He's got some Banelings, not that many, and there are a lot of charge lots here for Neeb. He keeps them at the back line, trying to avoid the Banelings. Force field's coming down. He would love to catch these Banes and kill them, because if the Banelings die, then the charge lots will run through Serral's defenses.
Yeah, an Observer here would have been really nice, because he's on top of so many creep tumors. And Neeb's just going to go for a 7 minutes lockdown just right outside of the 3 bases of Serral, saying, well, you wanted to cancel and kill my bases in the previous game? How does it feel? You're not going to get a 4th base up, and 3 base against Protoss is pretty good against 3 base Zerg.
Feels so funny to see creep tumors move like 1 hex. Spread a little bit there. Serral is able to... Oh, the Prism a little bit late on siege there for Neeb. Serral trying to pick it off, but he does save it just barely.
Yeah, and behind this, Neeb started +2 attack. He's getting more Immortals. He's going to have the opportunity to go into Storm if he wants to. He already has the Templar Archive, and his gas bank is going to build up very nicely because he's on 6 gases now, already having 3 High Templars here. We see Storm starting now. Oracle.
How's Neeb keeping all these units alive? Quick responses, fast hands. Serral looking for a run by with these Lings, but Neeb just has the army to meet it. Can't see these Lings doing too much here on this Nexus.
And Hive now starts here. For Serral, he's going to start the Spire at the same time, so this is the proper timing to make sure they finish around the same time, and then you can get the Greater Spire for the Broodlords.
This map's a little bit harder for Neeb to do what he did on Cyber Forest. Cyber Forest is such a short rush distance, so you can go across the map with that sort of like Archon Immortal timing there. But this game, Neeb's going for a little bit more like game one, going for Storm, Charge Lots.
And also, sort of it's a different composition. He was facing Ro8, Ravager, and Banelings defensively, which I would say is definitely, in my opinion, weaker than Hydralisks. But the Hydralisk Baneling style, the weakness of that will be Storm, which Neeb already has reached now.
That Stasis Ward could be potentially very juicy if Serral goes down that ramp to the left there. And he actually pulls back. Oracle coming in for another tag. And
and Serral's going to drop Banelings, actually. He's morphing them around the north side of the map right now.
He wanted to drop those Banelings, but Neeb sorted that, so now it's just an empty Dropper Lord. And now that Neeb sees this tech, this just means he starts dropping more cannons. You see there are a few more on the way here for Neeb.
Yeah, but I mean, one cannon doesn't not really help much against one Overlord. And ideally, you want to spot it, move away, warp in units, and make sure you get the proper defense. Does Neeb actually want to attack here? I thought he was just posturing forward. I didn't think
about it. That Prism definitely looked like it wanted to go into the natural as well.
Okay, Baneling drop on the other side?
Yeah, Phoenix and Cannon together though. Banelings do have plus to attack, but only one of them comes out and does basically nothing. I mean, he gets a couple probes, that's all right. Serral attacking with a small cluster of Lingbane Hydra here. Looking to get more probe kills on this base.
Oh my god.
Neeb actually defending really well here. Neeb doing a great job. Oh, nice catch from Serral, by the way. Good defense on both sides. That charge lot run by deflected very hard. Oh, more charge lots dying to the Banelings. Neeb losing that front line here. He's going to be very careful.
And there's a Prism on the top right-hand side here for Neeb, so he could try to send that towards the main base. Usually you kind of want to fish for that Greater Spire. If you can find that and kill it, it's the ideal scenario.
Just feels so awkward for Serral to still be making Lings at this part of the game when you're up against a unit comp that's so good against it. The Immortal count quite high, and obviously Lings and Hydras do okay against Immortals together, but there's so many Storms.
Yeah, but they have so much mobility. Like, you're looking to counter-attack, you're looking to morph them into Banelings and have enough of them to actually eventually connect.
But it's so hard to run by on this map, that choke point for Neeb. And Neeb's going for the faster double Stargate and the Fleet Peaker this time, so Neeb is actually reading Serral's follow-up very nicely. He's one step ahead.
Serral spotted that Prism, by the way.
You got it?
No, I mean, he spotted it on the right-hand side, so he's kind of cornering the area, making sure that he can catch it if he were to try and fly past everything. Another Baneling attack.
High Templar. There's a High Templar. It's a nice catch with those Banelings if he gets them, but goes for the probes instead. Up! All right, gets 6. No, not too bad. He got a High Templar as well, so all those things considered, it's a pretty good run by.
That one Oracle is still alive and tagging stuff left and right. Just tagged the Overlords here in the middle of the map, so didn't quite catch the army. Yeah, with the Greater Spire finishing now, this is going to get really scary.
All right, Prism dealt with, though. Is there a Prism in this army for Neeb? He's lost the one on the front line. Looks like he can't actually reinforce this. He has no second Prism. Serral with a lot of Hydralisks and Banelings here. Neeb with a lot of Storms.
Oh my god, I'm surprised he's stepping on creep here. There's so many Banelings, but Neeb's so confident here in his micro.
Yeah, he still has Storms available. He's High Templar on the back line. The Banelings nearly connected with... Oh, actually, that was a great connection from Serral. The High Templars are all dead. The Banelings getting rid of all the charge lots on the south side. Serral with so many Hydralisks. Neeb needs to get out of here. Oh my god, what a cleanup. Serral, brilliant engagement there. Deflects Neeb so hard.
And I think the way this game has been going for the last 12 minutes might have made Neeb a little bit overconfident here, because he was always poking and pressing forward and being aggressive, and then eventually he got a little too comfortable on the other side of the map, stepped on creep and got immediately punished for it. I mean, those units of Zerg, they're really fast on creep, the Banelings in particular. And with those connections here, Serral gets a massive cleanup, and now Serral should be extremely comfortable just droning up a little bit more, going for these Broodlords, and taking it into the later stages of the game with a ton of Infestors, which, I mean, we're going to see Neeb do the same thing. He's going for carriers. We might get a very long game here on Thunderbird, Maynard.
Thunderbird can sometimes be like that. But Serral also saw that it's the carrier version that Neeb's going for, not Tempest here. So that means he can get a few more Corruptors in his composition to help him out against the carriers. The carriers isn't what it used to be, but with a lot of High Templars underneath it, it does still make it tough to kill for the Zerg. But you get a lot of Corruptors. Infestors certainly going to help out, and they're being thrown into the army composition here for Serral. But you don't want too many Broodlords. You want to be able to fight those carriers, and also specifically kill those Interceptors of what is happening here.
They're having a meeting.
Oh, Nexus run by it. Actually kills it there with the Lings. It was very damaged from earlier. Serral just finishing it off.
The great council of drones.
That's right.
Talking about the strategy
the meeting
for the
of the wise
games.
men.
Meanwhile, Charge Loss on the bottom left-hand side, clean up a bunch of links. And we have +2 attack being researched here for air weapons for Neeb, whereas on the other side, everything that you're supposed to grab as Zerg. Additional static defense, corruptors, infestors, neural parasites, going to be extremely important. Serral is so good with his infestors.
He certainly is. Neeb on creep here, showing that he is rotating to the north side, killing some of that creep through as well. Serral looking to attack into this Nexus. Neeb pulling back, which means he doesn't feel like his defenses are good enough. He needs the army to help out. Nexus
Serral,
attempt.
He's so good at using the mobility of his army.
Yeah.
See, he moves down there with the Hydralis, then he realized the entire army of Neeb's coming, so he pulls back. He's always looking to be active, and all alike, if Neeb just sat on his side of the map, then Serral wouldn't be able to do that, but he'd be so comfortable to keep on expanding and building up his economy and taking more. So they both have to try and stay active as much as possible like that. It's a dance that goes on for these entire games. By the way, these drones are still up there on the top right-hand side.
Well, that means Serral's actually down on economy. Similar work account, but
World champion moves.
World champion. It makes me feel better, honestly. All right, well, Charge Lots attacking to the north and the south, hitting from the north and the south. The drones just realized, oh my god, we're not attacking units.
And they're going to go on home. Maybe transform into a couple additional spine crawlers and spore crawlers.
Spores are very important here against those interceptors. Charge Lots trying to get past the spine crawler forest here of Serral into the drone line. And they actually are on a move, so they actually aren't going to do anything here, unfortunately for Neeb, fortunately for Serral.
Okay, Neural Parasite is available here.
Yes,
so
and a lot of infestors.
yeah, Neeb has to be extremely careful. If his entire army starts getting fungal and neural, there's going to be a nightmare real quick. By the way, Neeb has made the one Oracle this entire game and never had to remake any other one. That guy's been tagging Zerg units left and right like a zookeeper, and every single time came back home alive.
That's right.
And he's still there. And I know that because I say this, he's probably going to die, but I'm going to say it anyway.
The late game Dark Shrine, and Mama is coming. Mothership being made here for Neeb. There it goes.
Never mind.
The Todd curse. That Oracle could have been alive this whole game for Neeb. What if Neeb loses this game because he doesn't tag an army that catches
He's
him?
going to remake one,
The borrowed infestors don't get tagged because the Oracle's dead. It's your fault, Todd. How do you sleep at night?
I don't. Mothership on the way, Dark Shrine, Plasma Shields, upgrades, and +3 air weapons now as well for Neeb. Serral, I feel like he really wants to get rid of these Hydralisks, but not in a non-cost effective way. So he keeps going forward here at the bottom side of the map.
Getting an Archon's nice. And these Hydras are going to get taken down slowly but surely here by those carriers.
Neeb actually splits carriers between different armies. He's got 4 at the top with those 2 Archons and some High Templars as well.
Yeah, he wants to break through this defensive line, the static defense of Serral. The Banelings in this Overlord actually really skirting past Neeb's defenses. He went past all the static defense here. Neeb, oh no, excuse me, they're Hydralisks, not Banelings.
Twice as scary.
I would have liked the Banelings.
There's an Observer, mate, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Okay, this army at the top from Neeb is very close to where Serral is, but he does have the Watchtower control, which that will change in a second.
Hydra's just getting dropped here on top of the cannon. A bit of a weird-looking attack, but like you said, Serral's trying to get rid of those Hydras and make supply for, I would normally say better units, but he's making a lot of Zerglings right now.
Yeah. Oh my god, we're going to have DT Blink being researched here. We've seen it more and more, and I like it, you know, I feel like especially if you're going to make a whole bunch of DTs, it's totally worth it.
Fear Dragon's at this event. Every time he sees Shadow Stride being researched, his nostrils flare, his back arches. Gets ready for those.
Get some nerd chills.
Certainly does.
Actually, Neeb is mixing in DTs within his army. That was cute little fungal.
Yeah, fungal for an observer. You don't see it every day.
These infestors are charging up on energy, Maynard. It's getting really scary. Like when I see, you know,
oh my god,
these energy bars going up, I'm like, yep, that's a lot of potential damage here.
All of these infestors, all these brood lords. What's up, Wings Liberty? It's a nostalgic unit composition here for me.
All Serral has to do here is never fight without spores and spines around his army, and that's exactly what Neeb's looking to try and abuse. He's going to go left and right, go all the way around this army, try to circumvent fighting against all the static defense additional to the army of Serral, and just prevent him from expanding as much as he wants to. Where Serral, it looks like he's expanding towards the top, which means he wants to siege that top base location. And eventually he's going to look for those big fungal and neural parasites, which he can get. If he can get them, it's going to be over really quickly here for Neeb. Neeb wants to prevent that by landing storms and feedbacks, ideally, I guess, on top of these infestors, which is going to be extremely hard.
Neeb gets a tag on the Broodlords there. You know what Neeb's been doing a great job of in this game? Denying creep. There is not much creep at all for Serral.
As you said, that actually catches a bunch of queens in the middle. He's awfully close to the spores. Oh my god. The infestors, they're going for it. Oh, lands some feedbacks. Very nicely done by Neeb.
Still more energy available for Serral here, and with those fungals, it's going to be hard for them to escape. Oh, he grabs that mothership.
But after it recalled, so
Neeb gets on out of there.
That was beautiful. He did that exactly on time when he needed to, and he was able to land some feedbacks just before. And this might cause a massive siege at the north here from Serral. If he starts on losing patience, he could actually mine some of these minerals here, the ones that have 5 patch on the patches, and then kind of siege through the area.
He certainly could, although most of the units for Neeb fly now. He does have these blink DTs,
oh god,
which they've already killed a hatchery, so they're just coming back to try and finish the job if Serral wants to retake it. I mean, this base is basically mined out.
He could go for the entire main base. Like, the army of Serral is completely immobile. It's a lot of Broodlords and a lot of infestors. He only has 12 Hydralisk and 21 Lings, which I guess will be enough for this.
Fungal. Oh, something got knurled. There it is. Carriers have been taken here by Serral, and he's dropping infested Terrans as well to help out with those interceptors. The Broodlords also cutting into that static defense. DTs of Neeb in the main base of Serral also looking for damage, catching some probes. They can get the Great Aspire. That's getting +3 air attack.
I don't know about killing the Extractor here. That's not the best choice. Neeb on the counter attack here. He does not want to fight against all of these Spore Spines.
Oh, so many infestors.
And Broodlords. Yeah, Serral literally only sent infestors back. He's like, I don't even need the Broodlords here.
Well, they're doing the job. He kept that Great Aspire alive as Neeb was actually attacking the Extractor there. And speaking of Extractors, high-yield gases have been taken for Serral. He's got that extra little bit of gas income. That pretty blue glowing lights. You don't see this base taken very often at pro games, so pretty cool to see.
Another DT is trying to do what the 8 previous ones couldn't do here, chasing some drones around in the center. Nope. Not gonna happen.
Nope. Neither is this Nexus. Serral getting the damage done here to the economy of Neeb. Both players finding it tough to expand. I'm amazed that Serral managed to get that high-yield gas base here. Yeah. And he is going to mine through those minerals, which means he can just send through Lings there, like you mentioned. That's a path for Serral to attack.
No, I think he's going to move Spores up to that location eventually and get a full siege.
I agree with you. I think that's a great idea. Not much static defense here. Neeb has some high Templar, but they don't actually have storms yet.
It feels like Neeb doesn't know what to do. He just went all the way back home with his army. He's not even, out on the map trying to be active, trying to do counter-attacks or anything. So Serral's feeling very comfortable sieging that base now.
Do you feel like perhaps Tempest were the better choice here for Neeb? Just for the ability to, like, with the Oracle tag, maybe get rid of Infestors?
I don't know. I think it's so hard as well because of the Spores. And, I mean, you could obviously face Viper as well eventually. There's so many Infestors anyway. Yeah, I think maybe, like, if you keep on upgrading out of the Forge and then use more Prisms to really do big Warpins instead of the main base of the Zerg and stuff, it can be good. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think he knows much better than me. And Neeb, he's going to go for the counter-attack here. On the other side of the map, there's a ton of Spores. Serral actually left some Corruptors. He's walking back with all of the Infestors. While at the top, the Hydralisk and Lynx cleaned up the rest of the base.
And as far as mining bases go, Neeb doesn't have that much remaining. Serral still has a couple fresh ones.
Look at the bank.
Look at it. It's pretty good.
It's building up much more nicely here for Serral, who's ahead on Walkers now. Thanks to that base in particular.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, see, Neeb doesn't have many mining bases anymore. He's going to get rid of these changelings here, but he's taken the Nexus to the very, very south. He just took it. Down at like the 630 location. Serral's trying to attack into it though. He scouts that Nexus, so that's definitely going to be a target for Serral. And he's sending that army down. All those Infestors and the Corruptors moving in as well. DT's heading into the main base of Serral as well to find some more damage.
I'm really surprised that Neeb's not doing more Prisms. He has 30 gateways, Maynard. 30. He could warp in 30 units at once inside of that main base. 30 Zealots or even like make a bunch of Archons. And this is the only mobile army here of Serral. I guess Infestors are pretty fast on creep as well and could be sent back, but then that would mean they're using energy and then not elsewhere, maybe covering the Broodlords, for example.
Yeah, look at that. Nindy showing us that Neeb has actually 30 gateways here. So he could certainly remax with a massive ground force. But it's just so tricky. Like, does a ground force actually stop this many Infestors?
It just feels like there are no fights that you want to take against this many Infestors, plus the static defense.
Right.
Whether or not there's the Broodlords nearby, which ideally for Serral there will be. He has Spores everywhere. Look at this.
Yeah.
Massive amount here, all the way at the top. a lot as well. And these Infestors, I think they are about ready to kill a base on their own.
I think they are. Infested Terrans getting pushed out here for Serral. He's on top of those carriers, which means they're toast, and this Nexus is in big trouble as well, using those Infested Terrans to target fire down these taken carriers, or at least he was for a second there. And the Infestors piecing on out. They're out of there.
And Serral's only trading energy here for actually pretty costly units.
Yeah.
Resources lost. There's going to be a big gap starting to form here. 31,000 to 21,000.
It's already a pretty big gap.
Yeah, already 10,000 differential. It's going to get even bigger as time passes by, unless Neeb can find a way to fight this army. But what way is there? How are you supposed to engage against this?
Now, indeed.
Tempest, I guess.
I mean,
not far.
I'm a bit of a carrier hater. I'm not going to lie. I feel like the unit just isn't as good as the Tempest at the moment as far as tier 3 goes. But I mean, I always think about the Fist of Neeb, but that was a different carrier, different time.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Certainly have.
Still Link's being made in the production tab.
Oh, he's actually grabbing an Archon here, and he's killing the High Templar with the Archon as well. So sick. Serral's Infested Terrans all over this Nexus. And then Interceptors are coming on in, but the Infested Terrans are killing the Interceptors as fast as they come. A double time warp, actually, on the Infested Terrans. Why not?
What else are you going to use it on?
Actually halves their attack speed.
Actually, you might want to save enough energy to recall. Wouldn't that be sick? If he finally got caught in a corner, he couldn't recall because of
Now,
this.
you know what?
Oh, the tag. Oh my god, this is the money tag here.
If only it did damage. Now, Neeb gets the Great Aspire going, yes, I did it, but unfortunately, Serral made a Great Aspire. He's made 2. There's one right there in the natural. Actually, where is it? There it is.
Yeah, he could kill that as well, I guess, eventually, if he finds it.
Yep.
For now, oh my god, is Neeb losing patience? Again, he has no recall.
Oh man, these Lings getting on top of that Nexus. Neeb can't really do anything about it. He's sending down the Mothership. If he can cloak this Nexus, he can save it for now.
Oh, there's the DT at the top. It's going to have a field day. Especially if it realizes it can kill drones too. Pretty quickly. Serral's moving in that position to actually defend. I think Serral was really smart in keeping this amount of Hydralisks down on the map, because they are really helpful in being the fast units that go around and help and defend against some of these units doing run-bys and all that.
Well, it's similar to late-game TvZ, where you just rely on your spellcasters, your ghosts, and your liberators, and that sort of thing, the siege units to get the job done, while you still have like a small amount of bio, just picking off hatcheries, harassing, that sort of thing. Serral going to open up the gates here. A lot of production for Neeb over there, but he's not really using the gateways too much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, 28 Infestors, like that's just so scary in support with those Spores, the Spines, those Brewlords, and Hydralisks. And Neeb, I'm sure he would love to fight, but it just feels like he cannot. I think he's trying to reach a critical mass of carriers, where eventually he'll be able to fight against this. Because
that's certainly the plan, but every time Serral comes in with those Infestors, he kills 1 or 2 of those carriers. Neural parasites.
At the end of the day, Spores are nice to have as a reinforcing thing for your army, but you cannot upgrade their damage. They're not like units. So missile attacks actually don't affect them. So if you can get a ton of carriers and you get to a critical mass, then maybe you can finally take on this army plus a bunch of the Spores and win the fight.
Serral's Hydra's fighting a little bit of damage over here, pulling Neeb's army all the way back to the 3rd base. Meanwhile, the bulk of Serral's forces moves through the middle here of the creep. He wants to catch these carriers. He gets a couple, pulls them towards these Infested Terrans and Corruptors. And that is just energy for some very big resource losses there for Neeb.
Yeah, Neeb is absolutely helpless. He just had to watch this happen. There's nothing he could do about it.
Oh man, the Spore Crawler for us moving forward here for the Zerg. Bungles on the army, it detects them and also does a little bit of damage there. The Interceptors of Neeb coming forward. Big tag there on the army of Serral. Storm's coming down. The Broodlords along in this fight as well, getting on the Archons, getting on the High Templar. Looks like this might be the big fight in this game. Massive storm there in the Infested Terrans. The Spore Crawlers are helping out so much here for Serral as well. The Interceptor count for Neeb is all but gone. He doesn't have that many left. Comes forward with a bunch of Blink Stalkers, which are cloaked, and they're definitely helping out, but the Infested Terrans are just cutting them to pieces here. Serral is crushing the army of Neeb with those Infestors.
Yeah, Neeb is down to 7 Interceptors. That's it. He's going to try to reinforce on the ground with his 30 gateways. But all Serral has to do is pull back, regroup, remake some units, let that energy regenerate on his Infestors. And he had such a big bank. Look at it. He's still got 9,000 minerals, 6,000 gas. If he had lost all of his units, he still could have remade 60 mutas.
He certainly could
If
have.
he had the supply free for it.
That'd be weird against this many Stalkers, but the Stalkers of Neeb have been made. He's blinking forward. He's just trying to get anything done with any kind of unit composition. Serral is making sure that Neeb is as all in as all it could be here. He kills another Nexus. Neeb has no resource income anymore, really. Nothing consequential anyway. And Serral just needs to remake this army with this massive bank, which he already has done, to finish the deal here against Neeb.
Yeah, Neeb is back up to 34 interceptors. This is now or never. He's going to try to make this work. He's going to blink forward inside of those infestors. Can he do it?
Oh, it's going to be tough. Infested Terrans coming down for Serral. The Corrupt is also helping out for the bottom side as well. The Broodlords coming in to help with the Stalkers. The Stalkers realizing the Broodlords are a massive threat here. They blink and chase. Serral's replenished his army with a bunch of links. We're actually going to be very, very helpful. And Serral gets the job done after nearly 30 minutes of CVP action. Pushes back Neeb and takes match point here as he heads towards match point, I should say.
Don't ever go carriers against me.
Honestly, man, I just don't feel carriers anymore. Like, they're just not as good as they used to be. But does Tempest make a difference? Yeah. With that army composition of Serral, it's hard to think of what is actually like a direct counter to it. Like, yes, you can beat that army, and I've seen that army being beaten, but it feels like you need to not mass up an army and sit there. You know what I mean? Let the Zerg get a bunch of energy and, like...
I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't want to condemn the unit because Serral won a game against it. That would be something very dangerous.
True, true, true.
But yeah, the carriers didn't look that useful this game for sure, as Serral just countered them perfectly. He always had spores, and eventually he got the fight that he had been waiting for, where Neeb attacked into a ton of spores and just kind of run out of interceptors.
Well, a very good war of attrition there. That's what it was. Serral just trading efficiently all that game. We saw that the resources lost were pretty insanely in his favor. 10,000 resources in Serral's favor at like the 30-minute mark.
Oh, that got even that gap got way bigger later on.
Certainly.
As he kept on trading, and it's such a tough call, you know. Like, we can sit here at the casting desk and be like, oh yeah, we could have sent a Prism to his main base and warped in a ton of units. But at the end of the day, what would have happened? Neeb would have sent back his Hydralisk, all of his infestors, cleaned up that Grand Army, gotten a cost-effective trade. Like, wherever Neeb was going to go, infestors were going to rule supreme here. So maybe Tempest, but, I mean, can you sit there for 30 minutes and shoot from far away and never really make a big mistake that will lose you the game instantly with Tempest? It's very tough, too. Yeah,
I don't know. Oracle Tag Tempest, it seems tough, though. Up to players better than me to figure it out. In the top left here, in the blue, from America, currently against the ropes, this is Ting's Neeb. Oh, wow. Serral, he's going for something cheeky here. I'll introduce him for you. In the bottom right here on match point, this is our world champion, the God Emperor himself, ENCE Esports' Serral. He's going for a hatchery block, Todd. He's going for a hatchery block, or potentially even a proxy hatchery, a very Bly-esque strategy here.
Yeah. Still dropping down the hatchery on his side of the map on the low ground, as to make everything look normal here up to this point. We'll see in a second if he tends to do that. As Neeb, he needs to stay in this series here mentally. It's going to be really tough, honestly. Like, the one game that he won, he played absolutely perfect. Had a fantastic timing that I think Serral maybe was not as ready as he could have been for. But other than that, it's been Serral running the show.
And he's going to go to the hatchery block, the natural here of Neeb. Very, very annoying, which means Neeb's probably got to get a Zealot up here. He starts a second gateway as well. And the probes have been pulled to slow down that hatchery's hit points. It's very, very annoying strategy, especially if the Zerg manages to actually squeeze an Evo chamber in there as well. Really slows it down.
Yeah, but the good thing for Neeb is he already has an assimilator.
Yeah. Cybercore starts here, and Neeb burning down that hatchery. So, you know, he's losing mining time. This does cost Serral money, of course, so it's a bit of a trade, but it ends up working out in the Zerg's favor ever so slightly. So he is going to go for it. And there's that Evo chamber, as I mentioned, slowing down the natural even further here. Serral being very annoying with this drone.
Just wait for the extractor.
That's usually
the cherry on top of the cake. Oh no, you didn't.
So you take Neeb on an express ticket for Tilt City.
All right, as the Cybercore finishes, wouldn't be surprised to see double Adept production starting here. Really one of the great way you can somewhat counter-attack here in this position. But Serral's already obviously thinking about this. He's done this build before. And he's already mining off the extractor that he made. Spawning pool just finishes, so he'll be able to get Queen's Links, go into metabolic boost quickly. Taking the gas in the main base is very annoying.
Yeah.
For Neeb, because he would have liked to have that already, I think, and start mining from it.
Yeah, you generally want it in the low 20-ish supply. You're going for a macro opening here, so it does delay things a little bit, but he did get double Adept. The Adept is very light on gas. And certainly a good response to what Serral's done.
Yeah.
You know, Serral doesn't have a whole lot of units back home. He's only just started speed, so he's got a few slow lings, but he is making them at the right time here to deflect against the Adepts.
And you see, he didn't go directly through the middle. He sent one Adept on each side to try and intercept any links that would have been going this way, kind of like it happened in the previous game where he got rushed. I think ideally for Neeb, he'd like to be able to kill a bunch of drones here, but Serral should be ready with the amount of links that he has.
Yep. And he knew these Adepts were coming. He's got the creep chamber forward injection here from the Natural Queen. The Adepts really want that drone line. Serral is losing lings here, but he's keeping the Adepts away from his drones, and that's the main goal here for the Zerg. Oh, gets an Adept kill. That's really nice. That slows down the drone damage here for Neeb, or potential drone damage. He actually hasn't gotten any drones until just now. There we go. 2 drones have gone down, actually. Going for the 3rd. The Adept wants to survive here. I don't know if it will. Oh, just barely. Wow. 9 hit points, and it's out of there.
Nicely done. And he did kill quite a few links here, actually. Like, Neeb almost made the most of that in that, you know, if he committed for drones, he might not even have killed them and lost both of the Adepts. But now, he cleaned up a bunch of the links. He forced extra ones, and he did get the 1 drone. So that was not too bad. And he goes again for the 1 Phoenix. And it seems to be the standard. Like, he knows there are overlords around his base, so he goes for the Phoenix. Usually goes for the Oracle after, actually. He's going to change that here. It's going to be a 2nd Phoenix going up behind this. Maybe because of the way the game has opened. And Serral playing...
That would be interesting. If
both players playing like pretty aggressive, and the hatchery block is like, well, your economy is not where it usually would be. So if I go for more Phoenixes, not only will I reign supreme in the skies and kill a bunch of overlords, but maybe I can kill some drones here and there.
Multiple Phoenixes sometimes means multiple Stargates here. We haven't seen the second one from Neeb just yet. Lair and Ro8 on the way for Serral at the proper timing here for the Zerg to deal with things like Archon harassment, just early game attacks. So pretty common for the Zerg to get the Ro8 and the Lair done now. Neeb still making Phoenixes here. It's going up to 3.
Ooh, actually, Serral flies in there to try and get a scout. It's going to be revealed that it's a lot of Phoenixes. This is one of those maps where, like, the 2nd and 3rd base of Zerg, they are, like, not super close, but not super far away either. So you're definitely going to have a lot of room with the Phoenixes to fly around, pick off units, you know, being rallied from one base to another, flying in an angle where the Spore can't shoot to pick off some drones. And the Ro8 just finished as the Lair is about to here for Serral.
Roaches aren't very good against Phoenixes, as I'm sure you'll agree, Todd. So the Queens and the Spore Crawlers are going to have to get a job done here. 3 of them together, though, absolutely enough to fight that for Phoenixes here. So nice bit of defense there for Serral.
I don't know, looks like talking about Roaches are the best unit against Phoenixes. When they counterattack and kill everything.
That is true, that is true.
Whoa, that 1 Phoenix. Already damaged quite a bit. Double Forge.
Yeah, this is cool from Neeb. You don't see this every day. Generally, the Protoss gets by just having the 1 Forge, getting the attack upgrades, the most important upgrades, but double Forge. This is a style we've seen before. And Serral is feeling like there's going to be a lot of Phoenixes here.
Nidus.
So he's going to go for the Nidus.
Oh,
like Todd mentioned, Roaches are sometimes great against Phoenixes.
Yeah, if he goes for the counter. He's already got a whole bunch of Queens. He was getting ready for these air units anyway. And those Queens are actually building up on energy very nicely. There's going to be transfusions available for the Nidus for additional units. How does he get a unit instead of, like, I think ideally you'd like to go for the main base, right? To throw down the Nidus, but
certainly
you can't really get a unit there.
If you want to be really bold, you can do it rogue style and actually just send the lings towards the natural and put it on the other side of the wall. And
he might throw it down on the, I don't know where.
Neeb sparkling a little bit there. A couple Phoenixes to those Queens.
Okay, so he makes it outside of the 3rd base as to reinforce quicker into that position. There is a bunch of sentries available, but you need a triple force field to fully seal that ramp.
Do you think Neeb's going to go into Disruptors here?
Well, I mean, I don't know that he'll have time.
No, I don't think so
he needs to
either.
defense here first and foremost. I think he needs to triple force field perfectly and then re-warp in sentries and go for that again.
Well, he's still making Immortals. Robotics Bay is complete. Double Forge still quiet here as Neeb knows he needs to be on the defense.
There's Ravagers to break the force field anyway. Neeb might be in a world of trouble. I don't know if he's supposed to sack that base. He's going to try to defend it, but still, he's going to start on streaming in there. Maybe recall into the natural. I don't know. If he tries to fight, this might be it.
It's looking really rough here for Neeb. The Lings are right on top of those sentries. The Adepts and the Stalkers don't look to be enough. Serral right in his face here with his army, and Serral